Welcome to Heels, Handbags, and Hustle. Step in faith, carry love, pursue God's calling. This is your host, Rachel Earp, and I'm so delighted that you found my show. My podcast is dedicated to encouraging women to be more bold, confident, and secure in their work and femininity. I've had the privilege of bringing on many outstanding women who share their journeys, stories, and successes with us. I believe women should embrace their God-given gifts and abilities without the entanglements of fear, comparison, or past mistakes. As a wife, business owner, and mom of 2 boys, one with Down syndrome, I have found such joy in the community of supportive women. My prayer is that this podcast elevates each person who listens and inspires a closer walk with God. Now, let's get to it, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Heels, Handbags, and Hustle show. I have a treat for you guys today, and I know I say this like every time I have a guest on my show, but I truly have been brought so many treasures that I'm excited to share with you guys. And today I have Diana Chaloux-LaCerte. I think I got her name right. Yes, yay! She is a fitness CEO, speaker, author, founder of HitchFit and SoulFit retreats, which are faith-led fitness retreats that they host all over the world. Her and her husband are a husband-wife team. She is absolutely stunning. I was so drawn to her. I was following her on social media and her positivity and motivation and just how she is magnetically just so inspiring. I thought I want to have a conversation with her and share her with all of you guys. So Diana, I'm so honored that you're on today. I just want to welcome you to the show. And if you could share, I know a little bit about your background, but could you share a little bit of your background, how you got started in this industry, and just kind of take it from there?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for that beautiful welcome. And I'm so excited just to sit and have this conversation with you and just see where it goes. So thank you. As far as background, like I'm in the fitness world, and honestly, it started for me because I had to go through my own transformation journey. And several years ago, I was not taking care of my health and fitness. I actually was really for me, it was a darker place, and I was struggling with depressive feelings and anxiety, and I was filling my body with a lot of junk. I was compulsive overeating. I had just this really bad daily habit of, I would starve myself all day, and I had a lot of stress and things I was trying to deal with. And then at night, I would just kind of binge eat and just stuff myself, wake up the next morning feeling horrible. And it was just this repeated pattern. And what was interesting was I was working in the fitness industry because I was a personal trainer, because that was where I felt, honestly, it was like the one thing that held my attention. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And then I was like, oh, it's the gym. This is where I love being. So that was why I pursued personal training, because it was where I loved being. So I had that piece in place. But as far as the deeper internal work and understanding the nutrition and how my nutrition was impacting my brain and how my daily choices were just leading me in a direction I didn't want to go, I didn't have all of those things together. And actually, July 5th of 2005, so we're coming up on 19 years ago, I had what I call my aha moment that completely changed the course of my life. And I woke up that morning, and the 4th of July, I had gone out drinking with friends, drank a bunch of beer, I had gone to McDonald's, and then I went into the gym the next day to work as a personal trainer to help people get fit and healthy. And I felt bloated and disgusting, and I really felt like a fraud. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? And I had a friend come up to me that day, and he said, hey, Diana, I noticed that you wanted to do fitness competitions. And he was like, what are you waiting for? And it was those 5 little words that I was like, what am I waiting for? I have these goals and dreams, and I'm literally choosing a lifestyle path that is pushing me further and further away from them. And I was so sick and tired of feeling like that, and so sick and tired of being discouraged and disgusted with myself and what I was doing. I really did. I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. I didn't feel good. I changed everything that day. And for me, it was the world of competition. That's not going to be what it is for everybody. But for me, that was in my heart. I really wanted to do that. That sounded awesome and fun to me. And I changed everything, changed my eating, changed my exercise. I ended up competing about 5 months later. I won that show, and I was like, this is it. Like, I'm on the path. Like, this is the path. And then I kind of haven't gone back since. That led to just a lot of doors opened in the fitness industry. I won 2 world championships. I ended up meeting my husband, Micah. We started HitchFit. We've had that business for 15 years. We worked with people globally in 82 countries, helped them lose over 700,000 pounds of fat. And now we have our SoulFit retreats where we're doing faith and fitness retreats. And so for me, without that moment of aha, like, we wouldn't be sitting here talking. So it's been an amazing journey so far.
That is truly amazing. And I love that at this time that we're recording this, we are almost to 4th of July. That's coming up next week. That's so cool. So you said you had an aha moment and you changed everything that day. So as I think most of us know, that it begins with a mindset change. And sometimes for many of us, like, we'll have that for a day and then it kind of wears off the moment we fall off the bandwagon, or, we have something stressful come up. Because as you know, too, when we determine that we're going to make a life change, there's always something that happens that just, whether it's like a tragedy or something like just stress or just something that you were not expecting comes up. How did you truly keep that resolve after your moment, like that aha moment? How did you keep your resolve to last as many years and bring you to where you are today?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So we talk a lot about mindset changes, but it's actually, if you want it to be something that's longer lasting, it really is a change in your default. I call it your default settings and like your heart set.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, there had been many times prior to that day where it was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then, no, I'm not, where you have like a little surge of motivation and then it wears off. I'd had those moments many times over the years. What was different about that day was it was something deeper. It was a shift in who I was going to start telling myself that I was, and I wasn't going to be a fraud anymore. I was going to walk with integrity and I was going to be disciplined. So it was also this realization that the motivation, those things that come and go, we feel like doing something and then, I don't feel like doing it, so I'm not going to. I recognized that it had to be a discipline. So discipline was what I was needing to develop in my life if I was going to actually get to where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And so it was establishing those habits. And also my husband, Michael, likes to say, is your why bigger than your quit? And so for me, it was the moment that the why became bigger than the quit. And it's not that life has been amazing with no hiccups and none of these things, because everybody's life has that stuff. But when it's an underlying identity, it doesn't matter what's going on in my life. It doesn't matter when tragedy strikes, when unexpected things. I am a fit and healthy person, and that is part of who I am. So it doesn't matter the circumstance. I'm going to make choices that align with who I am. And so that's the difference. Is it's not, some people, it's like here on the inside in the heart set, they're not truly saying I am a fit and healthy person. It's like, it's more something they're doing rather than something that they're becoming. So it has to be who you become.
Well, that is so powerful. I love that you put that perspective where it is from the heart. And, truly, I feel like the life changes do all stem from the heart. And, when you have your heart set on something, there's no stopping you. Even if the things come to sidetrack you, you default. Like, that's such a great word, default, back to what your core identity should be and is, and just drawing that person out. That is so profound. I'm so glad that you shared that, because we hear the buzzwords in the fitness industry, like mindset, and we think, oh, I'm trying, like my mind's like, I do want these things, but I don't know how, or I feel like I've gone too far. Like, for those that have just felt that, like, hey, I'm so far gone. I don't know you mentioned not knowing who you were. How do you navigate through that, where you feel like, what is the first what is the first step then? Okay, hey, I have my aha moment, but now.
I think the first step is finding help, and that's what I did.
Mm,
It wasn't like, okay, here I figured I have this thing and now I have to figure everything out on my own. And so for me, what I did in that moment was I looked around to see who was doing things that who was getting the results in their life that I wanted to get. And I started reaching out to them. I hired 2 coaches for myself because I was like, I'm not doing this on my own. I know this is who I want to become. And
yeah,
so I got people in my life that supported me, that encouraged me, and that had gone on the path before me so that they could actually show me what the path was. Because I actually didn't know, even though I was a personal trainer, I didn't know how to get there. And
right.
so I put people around me that could show me how to get there and that could hold me accountable to the things that I was committing to too.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think people, it's easy to feel like, and I think that's why people don't do certain things, because they think they have to do it all on their own and figure it all out. And, even if it's something that you might have a lot of knowledge in, there's a big difference between that and being held accountable and having that, that person that's going to speak that into your life and just, keep that momentum going. And I'm assuming that that's why you decided, after you came through your journey, you started the HitchFit. So talk to us. It's an online training platform, correct? Or do you do in-person training as well?
We actually have both.
Okay.
We have a brick and mortar gym here in Kansas City. And HitchFit is we've had the business for 15 years. So there was a point in time when we had up to 3 gyms in Kansas City. We've consolidated it down to 1. Just last year, we actually consolidated down to 1. Our online training actually started before the one-on-one. We're like some of the OGs in online personal training.
Yeah.
It was like we were back in the day when you actually had to explain to people what online personal training was. And they were like, what do you mean you're not there with me in person? What do you mean? Like, now it's saturated. But for those first few years, it was like, no, I can actually create a plan for you and you can communicate with me. And like, I'll be here for your questions and provide you the information. And it was working, but it was really interesting those early days because just it was unheard of. And when
Yeah.
we started getting transformations, and this is so Micah and I met on MySpace. I don't know, like that.
I love that.
So I was
MySpace.
like, MySpace, like, so I date myself when I start saying like all of this early stuff. So it was MySpace, and then this was when Pinterest was like a brand new thing too. And I remember we had a transformation, and all of a sudden we were getting all of these sales and all this, and I was like, where's this coming from? And someone had said, I found you on Pinterest, and I was like, Pinterest? What is Pinterest? What is this? What's this Pinterest thing? I had no idea. And someone had pinned it and it had gone viral. Like it had like 40,000 pins and all these people had found us. But
Gosh.
so it's been
That's
fun.
amazing.
Yeah, it's been fun navigating it like through all these years, and just seeing the industry evolve. But we still stayed so true to the core of what we do, which is transformation and really trying to help people develop lifestyles and really working on mindsets and habits. And so that's why HitchFit is still as strong as it is today, because we've just really stayed
Yeah.
true to the roots of what we were intending to do.
Yeah. I love it. And you guys look like you have so much fun together too.
We
And
do. We do.
you still do competitions now, right? Are you
Oh,
still, or is that something that,
no,
no?
I retired from that years ago.
Yeah.
The last time we competed was 2011, and so I competed for for 7 years. And when I met Micah, I convinced him to compete because I didn't want to have to go through prep alone.
Yeah, it's so much easier. Yeah.
But yeah, in 2011, we both were kind of ready to move forward. The fitness industry opened up so many doors for us, relationships and all of this, and immensely helped our business. And in 2011, we were just like, it's time. I'm actually good with closing that chapter and moving on to other things. What we do now, I'm 46, I'll be 47 in August. So, and Micah's 45. So what we do now though, we do photo shoots every year. So we put ourselves through a prep that just keeps us on point. We do it together, and it's fun because we get marketing material and we get good pictures, but it's also more testament I have a lot of women in their 40s that are like, oh, you know, this and that, we can't do these things after 40. And I'm like, well, no, you can. Actually, you can. And not.
Yes, I love that. I love it. I'm getting close. So in September, I'll be 38.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm teaching my way, and I do like you. Well, I think once again, though, it stems back to what is that old Frank Sinatra song? When you're young at heart. Have you heard that song?
I'm sure I have.
Yeah, it's like I always loved it because I feel like, the age thing is such a hang up for people.
Mm-hmm.
And here you are crushing it. Like you just, when I saw you, I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to be a Diana when I grow up. Like, it's just so inspiring. And I love that you do that because it's not just about yourself but it also does truly shine that beacon of hope for other people so that they know I'm still doing it. It's still possible. You don't have to let, even things in your past or what other people are saying and telling you, don't listen to any of that. Do what you love and enjoy doing it and do it for as long as you can. And you'd be surprised how long you can. When in your mind, you're like, you know what, I'm going to do it. So that is so fun. I love it.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. It's like people think a lot of times it's like about what you look like on the outside, and that's great. But all that is really, it's just like it's like a bonus. It's like a side effect of like when you treat your body well, and especially for women, I am like, take care of this thing because the more you take care of it, and I mean like, your strength training and your cardio and how you're feeding yourself, it's the fountain of youth for one, and it's how it impacts your mental health, the prevention of diseases, and I don't take any medications, and I know like for women my age, I know, and no judgment on anybody who is, I'm just saying, like, I know that is because of my lifestyle. I know that is because of the choices I've made that have enabled me to not have that disease in my body and those things. So it's like, and I can go hike a mountain if I feel like hiking a crazy mountain, so it's like it just allows you to do all of these things, but it is not just the physical, it is the mental health, it is the emotional strength, it's all of these other pieces that you get. And then being able to feel good about how you look is really just like a bonus.
Yes, it's true. And so as far as prioritizing fitness for for the crazy busy women and moms and professionals out there, I think that is also another big factor that deters people from staying true to that commitment because their life is just a rat race. And I can relate to that. I always I'll wake up in the morning and I'll look over at my husband. I'm like, well, let the rat race begin because this is like my life right now. So what's your words of wisdom and advice for that person where that is why they're falling off the bandwagon, is they're just not figuring out how to make that a priority?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And the thing is we have to actually change the perspective on it. If you are crazy busy in life, you literally can't afford to not take care of your body because one, that's your health, that's your energy, but how our bodies and how we choose to treat them impacts our brain. I work with a lot of like high level CEOs, successful entrepreneurs. And the thing is, what do you want? You want a successful business. You want to be able to be focused. You want to be able to respond well to things that are happening throughout your day instead of just reacting. You want to be able to have your most creative ideas. You want to be able to have energy for your husband, for your children when you get home. Like you want to perform highly in all of these roles. The only way you're actually going to be able to perform at your highest level is if you take care of this thing that you're living in. We only get one. And so if you're not taking care of your body, that means you're also not taking care of your brain. It means you're going to be struggling, much more likely to have really high stress, much more likely to have high anxiety, perhaps depression, lack of self-confidence, which is going to impact everything from your relationships to your business. That energy for your children, you're going to get home and you're going to be exhausted. The relationship with your spouse, you're not going to have, even just how we feel in our bodies as far as our intimacy and our relationships goes. That is a separating piece for a lot of people. Women don't feel good in their bodies. They're not having sex. That leads to, I don't want you to see me. I don't want you to touch me because I don't feel good in my body. So we have to flip the mindset. You have all of this stuff. Life's a rat race, which means you literally cannot afford to not take care of this thing. You want to be good at all the other things, take care of this first.
Yeah, that is so good. That is so good. I think too, it's thinking of the consequences of what it's going to look like if you don't. And I love that you threw out so many things, the relationship, like our mental health and our brains functioning at the full capacity and all of these things, like, especially for entrepreneurs, like I think we wear so many hats. And there's so much that we're trying to juggle. And sometimes like work and life balance that's not even a thing. There's no balance. Like it's just, you're on vacation, you're working. It's weekends, you're working. It's, and I'm sure you get that. And I think with entrepreneurs, especially, it's like, if you strip all of that away, and if you don't have your health and if you're not feeling well and you're not going to be able to perform well, it's going to affect all of the things that you've worked so hard to get to where you are. And it's easy to just put all of it on the back burner. And I can relate to that struggle. It is a challenge, but when you remember what it's going to look like if you don't, and what are the consequences if you don't, like that does truly align and put everything in perspective. And I think you hit the nail right on the head when you said the perspective thing. You have to keep the perspective. And that, if you have that and you hold tight to that and it's deeply rooted in your heart, then that is where you can start to make that change. And you guys created a faith-led fitness retreat. So you mentioned the reason I wanted to talk about that was it brought to my memory when you mentioned like the hiking. And how did the SoulFit retreats, how did that come into play with what you guys were doing? And what do those trips look like? Like, what is it?
Man, they're awesome. They're so much fun. Well, so foundationally for years, we've helped people with their physical bodies, and obviously that pours into a lot of other things. But, HitchFit was always about transformation and teaching people, how to eat, how to exercise, all of these pieces. SoulFit, we're just digging to deeper levels. And, one of the things over the years that when I went through my transformation, I was so excited to teach other people how to do it, because I was like, you're going to get there and then you're just going to want to stay there for the rest of your life like I did. I was like, never going back, never. Again, that was my default heart set. That's why I was able to sustain it. But for years working with people, you'd see people go through amazing transformations, and then maybe they'd sustain it for a little while, but those defaults hadn't changed. And so they would go back, and, we've seen people like lose 50 pounds, 100 pounds. And they're like, I feel the best I've ever felt. Everything's amazing. And then they just go back to what they were doing before. We're like, why is this? We have to figure out how we can get deeper. Like, how do we dig deeper so that we can dig out the roots of whatever is preventing that default setting, and so that we can really get people on the healthiest track that they're on. And we've done a lot of just research and learning and stuff about the traumas that people have gone through. And so a lot of times that's what's preventing people from moving forward. They do these things, but if they haven't gone in and dug in deeper to these unresolved traumas and hurts, the default doesn't change. And so whenever those life storms come up, they go right back to the default, which is unhealthy, because this stuff hasn't healed enough for them to be functioning well enough to move on from whatever the coping mechanisms or that type of thing. So that's kind of one of the reasons we started SoulFit, was like to create a space. I like to say it's a space where love thrives and wounds are healed. And so we lead with our faith. Micah and I are disciples of Jesus Christ. We are followers of him. He is our rock. He is our foundation. He is our savior. We are super bold about that, but we welcome anybody to come in. Like we want to love on anybody that wants to come in, because we have the fitness pieces and we have these other pieces. So we actually get a beautiful collection of people who, like, they know where we're at, but they also know that even if they're not on the same page as us, we want them there and we want to love on them, and we work out together. But then we create these spaces where they connect and they get seen and they feel heard. And for many of them, it's like the first time they felt really seen and heard. And that opens things up in them. And they're like, I'm in this community that's safe, that's encouraging, that's empowering. And we create these retreats, but then we just leave the room for God to come in and do what he does. And we're just like, I'm just going to step back and just watch the Holy Spirit come on in here and do his thing. And the most beautiful things happen. Just the relationships that develop, the wounds that we see either healing or just even the start of healing, or marriages coming back together. It's so beautiful and it's so powerful. And you know, people are like, where's SoulFit going in the next 5 years? And I'm like, wherever God wants us to go. Like, we're going to just keep creating those spaces, building the community, and just trying to dig deeper and help people just do this other healing so they can really have just freedom in their lives.
So you guys facilitate, like, you're the facilitators of bringing these people together, creating, like you said, that space, and just making room for people to have a healthy soul as well. And we talk about having a healthy mind, we talk about having a healthy body, but I tell you what, and I had a conversation centered around this with one of our team executives just yesterday, actually. And we were kind of talking about all different things with work and with, church and your walk with God. And, when you think about your soul and that, once again, being something that seems so obscure, but yet is one of the, like, literally the life, like our essential part of our being is our soul. And there's so many people walking around and their soul is sick and it's not well. And it's affecting everything in their life. And they can't figure out how I'm doing all things, I'm going through all the motions, but it's not that depth and digging, like you said, digging deep to figure out what the roots are and pulling those weeds out so that you can thrive. And I truly believe that God wants his children to thrive. And if you picture in your mind a plant that, when you strip away all the things that are choking the water and just keeping it from growing, and then all of a sudden it starts to blossom and bloom and the colors brighten and the colors are just abundant and it just looks so healthy. And even if you pull it up from the root, like, it's deep, like that is truly what God wants for his children. But it's such a hard thing in this world today. And I think it is beautiful that you and your husband work together to bring people that are on that journey and give them a space where they can just heal and have, all of the things, like the whole package. It's all important, guys. It's all important. Don't just get so honed in on just one thing. And it's like people are one extreme or the other. Like, oh, we're going to, I'm just going to go all in on this one thing. But we need all of it, right? We need all of it.
Yeah. So I always like to say, like, we're 3 in 1. We are body, mind, and spirit. We're not just one thing. So yeah, yep. All 3 of those components and one of them being out of alignment, that throws everything else off. So we have to pay attention to that, just who God created us to be in all the ways.
Yeah, absolutely. So on those retreats, what do you guys have, like, adventures that you do? I know you go in all different places of the world. You did one in Mexico, was it? Like, so yep. How long of a retreat is it typically, so that people are might be interested? Because I never did retreats for the longest time, and I'm a huge fan of them now.
Oh, I think they're
Yeah, it's like just a total refresh.
Yes. So we have different types of retreats. We have the Mexico
Okay.
retreat, and that's really our bigger one. We had about 50 people on this last one, and that's what we kind of cap that one at, because we've just found that's really a sweet spot as far as, when we've had ones that were more than that, and it was
Yeah.
almost like Micah's main thing is like, we want everybody to feel seen and feel
Mhm.
connected. So I don't want anybody coming in that was like, on the outskirts or didn't feel connected. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the sweet spot for those. And then we do adventure trips too that are smaller. So we have one coming up in October that'll be we're going to Zion National Park, and we'll be doing hiking, and we're going to Antelope Canyon, and we're going to Horseshoe Bend. So like, we love hiking. So I'm like, I love the
Yeah.
Mexico retreats. Like, they are powerful and beautiful, but I'm like, put me on a
Yeah.
mountain and I am a happy girl. So those are fun. We cap those at about 25 people, so it's a smaller group, and
Mhm.
we adventure together, but we create the same kind of spaces. Even when we're adventuring and hiking, we create those spaces where people can feel seen and heard and share their stories, and we have a chance to pour into them.
Yeah. And with faith and business, so another thing I would love to know is, how do you, I think for people who are in the business realm, but also entrepreneurs, finding ways to weave your faith into what you do it can be easy, but it also can be challenging. How do you make that work? Where you guys, I know you're very outspoken. You're not gonna, you don't try to hide your light or anything like that. You have no problem telling people, hey, that everything that I do stems from my relationship with God and what Jesus has done for me. Does that ever put people off, or have you ever found that has been something that people look at you in a different light? Talk to me about how that looks for you in the fitness world.
Yeah, I think for me, it's because our faith is so foundational. Like, it's kind of like, if I think of my life in buckets of like my relationships and my business and my passions in life, like,
Yeah.
it's like fitness. The faith to me is like it's the top bucket that pours into every other bucket. So it's not,
Oh, yeah.
it's so foundational to who I am, who Micah is, who we are together as a couple, that any choice that we've made, even if it's not that HitchFit is like, hey, we're a Christian gym, and this is like, it's never been like that. But it's just every choice that we make within that business, and when we're choosing what we do, and all of these things, it's our faith is foundational to every single choice. So whether it's being super vocal or whether it's just the fruit of what's happening in our business, the
Mhm.
faith is there no matter what. No matter if it's coming out of our mouths, it
Yeah.
is like when you walk in a HitchFit, like, you can feel it. You feel
Yeah.
that there's something there. And as the thing is, as far as like what other people might think, like, we really have gotten to a point where our pastor said to us years ago, he was like, are you more afraid of what man thinks of you, or are you more afraid of what Jesus thinks? Are you more afraid of offending Jesus, or are you more afraid of offending man? And
Mhm.
that caused such a shift in us of like, who do I actually want to say, who do I want to say well done to me? Like,
Right.
I want Jesus to say well done to me. And if that means that there's people, and yeah, there's a lot of people that disagree. They're like, I mean, honestly, we kind of just stay focused on, because I'm like, there's going to be all kinds of storms and waves, and like, but if you keep your
Yeah.
eyes on him, as long as I am stepping and being obedient with what he's telling me to do, I don't really worry about all of that other stuff, because I'm like, we're just really in a space and time right now. Like, I don't have time for all of that nonsense. I really have to stay focused on what he wants me doing, and just keep being obedient and faithful and loving on people. Like,
Yeah.
they can say whatever they want, and I'm going to love on them, because that's what Jesus did. A lot of people didn't like him. And what did he
Yeah.
do? He still loved on them.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. And I just, like, it's okay. It's okay if people, like, if we're not the right fit for them, that's
Mhm.
okay too, because he brings us the people that we need to pour into, and every person he brings before us, that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yep. sometimes you have to be okay with no matter what we try to do, we can't please everyone. And, when everything in your life is rooted, especially in God, and you're flourishing from that as the main source, it does become who you are and part of your identity, and it becomes natural to share because it's so meaningful and it's the most important thing above everything else that you have or have accomplished or are doing in your life. That is always first. I pictured in my head when you talked about the faith bucket pouring into all the others. I think a lot of times people think that has to be its own separate bucket. And it doesn't. And like you said, it doesn't mean you have to shove it down people's throats, It just means that, hey, I'm just being myself. I'm just being natural. And, I cannot help but talk about it and share and give glory to God because He has allowed me to be where I am and has given me grace. And I think it's so important now more than ever that we don't have to feel in any way ashamed to walk boldly. And that's not just even with faith, but walk boldly in who we're meant to be. I think we live in a society where we're so afraid to be bold about anything anymore because it's going to offend someone or step on people's toes, but it doesn't mean you do it in a malicious way. We always do it, like you said, do it with love, but be bold in love. Be bold in love. That is essentially what we're called to do above everything else that God wants us to do in our life. It is truly to love people. And He says that, we are known as His children by how we love. That is something I had I don't know, it was like 2 weeks ago, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. My husband and I, we were able to go. I'm sure you've heard of Mark Batterson.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to visit his church and his ministry in the heart of DC. And he said something so profound that I know I'll never forget. And he said, "You might be the only Bible that anyone ever reads. Are you a good translation?" And I was like, wow, how true is that? Like, what is our translation? Like, what are we translating that other people are reading about God? And that's so important to keep in perspective. I thought that was so good. I was like,
yeah, that's awesome. I love him. So that's like,
me too. Yeah.
Oh man, that's powerful.
So good.
Powerful.
It was so powerful. And I wanted to quickly highlight too, I know you and your husband work together, and that's something that I absolutely love. My husband and I are the same. We're very much a husband-wife team, but that can also be a challenging dynamic. I don't know how that is in the fitness world where, our world is different and how we work together, but talk a little bit about what that has looked like for you. And, when you have two people coming together from all different things that their backgrounds, you're trying to merge all of it and work every day. How does that look for you guys?
It's so funny. I love that question, and you get it because you work with your husband, but so many people are like, how do you guys do that? There's no way I could work with my spouse. I don't think it's definitely not for everybody, but it is what we prefer. Like, we love it. It is such a blessing that we get to do all of this stuff together. And we know early on, the 5 love languages. Mm-hmm. So both of us are number one love language is time. And so that works very well in our favor because we love spending time together. And we've been together the 16 years we've been together, it's been the majority of that time has been together. And just to be able to build things and have to learn how to communicate and how to keep business things separate from our personal lives and how to keep our relationship fresh. And I have a husband who is extremely loving and doting, and we go on dates. We still have date night every week, and we just have a lot of fun and a lot of playful things. And but the thing is, foundationally, because Jesus is the foundation of our relationship, and like I said, everything flows from that. Even when there are conflicts and there are hard things like arguments or, things like that, which which isn't a big part of, but our relationship, but of course is, 15 years, there's like stuff that comes up, but there's always been a safety in our relationship of just, it's a safe place even to argue. There's never been a time where it's like, I think it should be this, I think it should be this, but foundationally, we know that we are connected and we're on the same page and we're going through all this together. And, we went through a really challenging year last year, and we were bickering more than we've ever bickered before, but we were like, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at this situation. And so we'd be like and we both knew it. And we were like, I know, and I just don't know what to do. And I don't, and we just kept relying on the Lord, and he brought us through all of these things. But I think it's just that foundation and the communication and just sharing a passion and just both having the desire to impact as many people as we can it's kept us strong. Taking care of our bodies has kept us very strong, in our relationship too. And he takes care of himself for me. I take care of myself for him. We think that's really important. But yeah, it's been beautiful to be able to do this all alongside of him and do it as a journey together. It's unique and really powerful.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned taking care of ourselves, like you take care of yourself for him and he does for you. I think that is really important has nothing to do with whether you work together or not, but take care of yourself for your spouse. People have a tendency to get so wrapped up in their own things that they forget when you are married. It's very important to remember that other person too, and what are their needs and what are they feeling, and knowing hey, I want to be the best version of myself for me, but also for you, because we're in this together. It's a partnership, it's a team. And even if you're not working together, you are still on the same team. You have to be on the same team. And I think that is something that my husband and I, we have found. So at the very core, when we do have those challenges that come, or we've had, like you said, sometimes you're digging at each other because, all these other things are happening and it's easy to take it out on the other person, but we're still always on the same team. And that's how you can resolve conflict when it comes, because there is no perfect marriage without conflict. There's no perfect any type of relationship, honestly. You're going to have conflict with your children at times. You're going to have conflict within friendships, within the church, within, with our parents. But it takes both people being willing to say, hey, at the end of the day, you are more important than my grievance against you. You are more important than me having a really bad day and everything went wrong and you just did something really annoying to make it all worse, which happens sometimes. But that needs to be at its core to have a healthy relationship. And I think healthy relationships are extremely important in your life as well. If you don't have healthy relationships, then that is going to affect other things in your life. So in order to have that, though, once again, we're going back to the beginning of our conversation. You need to be healthy. You need to have a healthy mind, soul, and body so that you can have healthy relationships and your businesses can thrive, or your work can thrive, or whatever it is that you are on in your journey can be a thriving experience, not one that where you feel like, just a little flower kind of wilting out there,
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, it's so true. And kind of what you just said is, it just kind of makes me think of kind of something new that Micah and I are stepping into together as a couple. And a part of that has been because of the healing journey that he's been on over the course of the last 7 years of his life. And probably it even started a little earlier than that. But for us to have our healthiest relationship, like what people see, they also, Micah's, if you haven't seen Micah, he's fitness cover model. Like he's a beautiful human being on the outside. He's a beautiful human being on the inside as well. But what people don't know is all of the pain that he went through in his early years, and like the first 18 years of his life were filled with massive trauma and massive abuse, and a lot of times men have gone through things like this. They don't speak about it. They have to be manly, they have to be strong, and they have to be tough and shove all of this stuff in. And about 7 years ago, so Micah shared with me very early on in our relationship, we had a very instant connection and really a safe connection. And he shared things with me very, very early on. So as his wife, I've gone through our entire relationship knowing about the things that he went through, which is a lot of women maybe that are watching, like there are things that your husband may have gone through, maybe he's shared and maybe he hasn't shared, because with men, a lot of times they don't share those things that have caused so much shame and so much guilt and so much pain in their lives. So about 7 years ago, we were at a Carrie Job concert, and afterwards he's like, I had a vision, and he was like, I'm supposed to share my story publicly. And, this was a fearful thing for him. But over the last 7 years, he has just gone on this incredible journey of healing, leaning into his relationship with the Lord for the strength and the courage to overcome the lies of the enemy that had consumed him for years. And, it's been a beautiful thing to see. He shared his story publicly for the first time in January. And now we're kind of seeing all of these other doors open. But all of this stuff couldn't happen if he hadn't gone in and done that work. And it's made our marriage so much stronger. Like to be the wife that's watching him go through this and also trying to figure out, how do I support? Like, how do I comfort when he needs comfort? And I didn't do it all right. I will tell you that right now. It's very hard, to see your strong man coming down to these vulnerable places and be like, I want to be strong for him and hold him in these times, which is just going to help him become stronger for what he's stepping into. So even just going deeper into that healthy relationship piece of like, there's layers to that,
Absolutely. And I love that he is at this place where he can now share and be a part of other people's healing. That is something, when you're going through it at the time, you can't imagine getting to the point where you can actually talk about it and it not break you again like it did. Not that things don't still hurt and there's not times where that is painful, but when you are able to come through on the other side of that healing journey, and that is a journey that's going to look different for everyone, I think it is so powerful to be able to be a part of other people's healing as well. And like you said, it's hard when you're also at the same time as from a spouse perspective, because I relate to that very well also. And a kind of a similar path that my husband has come through. And you mentioned, seeing your for us, our big, strong man being very vulnerable, and it can be crippling. And it was, for my husband, it was very crippling for him. And I was the only one who knew. The crazy thing was nobody else knew. When he went out, he was, he could put that smile on and be so perform, like literally turn into that robotic where he just would crush it in the business. And then he would come home and then, just watching him just on his knees on the floor and not being able to breathe and not being able to function was so devastating to me. And it got me to a point where I realized I need to step in and I need to be a part of this with him, to whether it was, sometimes it was just to sit there and be in it and listen. There were other times where I had to take initiative and take action and do things that weren't comfortable for me, but I knew he needed me to be and step in and fill in the gap for him at that time. And then there were other times where, the people that don't understand, where they would try to intervene or butt in or give their advice or be so cold and heartless about it. I realized, you know what, there needs to be boundaries with this, and enough is enough. I am going to help protect him as much as I can because I know he would do the same thing for me. And I think that is such an important part too of someone's healing, is feeling like they have that support. But that can be a hard place. It makes your heart sick. I remember struggling and thinking, God, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to help him. Help me help him. That was my prayer so many times. Help me help him. And here, I know you guys now are working together to share that part of, your life as well. And I know God will bless you guys for it, and it will impact so many lives. So I just want to say thank you for being able to share that and being vulnerable and okay with opening it up, just opening it up and telling people what that journey of healing looked like. Because I tell you what, when you're going through it, when you can hear someone say, I have been there, I know, and you will get through this and you will get out on the other side. I can tell you that because I've been there. That is so different than someone who has not been there and is trying to give you all kinds of advice.
Yeah, so true. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that too, because I think it's powerful. Just speaking to women of like, how, like when you're saying, Lord, just show me, help me help them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just a role that, I pray that same prayer because it's just like we are such big pieces of this healing, and when your husband, when your spouse has gone through these really hard things and hasn't done that healing, whether they are willing to speak about it, or maybe they have not even told you or not told anyone in their lives, it comes out in some way. Sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's addictions, it is impulsivity, it may be maybe alcohol, maybe drugs, it may be pornography. The men are really, really struggling, and a lot of times that stuff, the root is this pain that they didn't feel that they could deal with. So it's just to create that safe space where you can help them on that healing journey, because man, when you can see that and be like, yeah, I'm here, we are that team, and God is going to use you as a part of that healing journey. And when he is gone through that healing, I say that knowing healing is an ongoing journey, but
Yeah, it is.
just how it plays into the strength of your relationship, how he is as a father, how he is in business. Like, man, it is such an absolute game changer for all of those pieces. So yeah, that strength, we as women supporting our men, and helping them on those journeys, and not judging them and not shaming them,
Right.
and not, looking down on them. No, we have to love on them and lift
Yeah.
them up too.
Yes. Love is, like you said, loving on them, even though they might be the tough, like, feeling like they don't need that. I tell you what, love is so powerful and such an important part of the healing, and being there for them. And, like, it's easy to think, well, snap out of it, or, hey, we don't have time for this right now. Whatever it is, that, like, you have to lay all of that aside, because at the end of the day, we are human beings, and we have feelings, and we have things that we need to work through in our life. And there's no closer person to us than our spouse, or at least that's how it should be. So yeah, I think that is so inspiring, Diana. And I've enjoyed this conversation so much, getting to know more of the heart behind your companies and behind you. You are just so beautiful inside and out, and you inspire so many people. Even when you, like, for us, like, before we had even had a conversation, I was so inspired by you. So thank you for shining your light. Thank you for coming on today to speak to all of my little hustlers who are listening to this show. Is there any last words that you want to leave with us before we end our time together today?
Oh, I thank you for the opportunity, and just for just a real and vulnerable conversation. And, I just hope that someone hears it and it inspires, you to just make a change, or just step into
Yeah.
something new, and just, be the best version of you.
Yeah. And for those who want to know where they can follow you, where they can find your online, your HitchFit and your retreats and all of that, where do you want them to go towards?
The best place to find me is at our main website, which is HitchFit.com. And you'll find all of the links to the SoulFit retreats there. Our social media links are there. I'm not hard to find at all. My email's on there. So that's really kind of the hub of everything. So you can stop by there and reach out if you have any questions or just any feedback about, the conversation.
Wonderful. Well, I want to encourage all of you listening to go follow Diana and watch their journey continue to unfold. This has been so inspiring today. Thank you again so much. And I just look forward to continuing to cheer you on and all the things that you're doing and seeing where God leads you next.
Thank you.
Well, friends, I just want to thank you for listening today. And if this show has meant something to you, please leave a review or rating on whatever platform you're listening to. Also, make sure you follow the show. This helps me continue bringing episodes like this where women can share their stories and link arms together. I hope you feel inspired and refreshed. Now get out there and hustle, girlfriends.